Thank you to Mr. Benjamin Krieger. Many of the ideas that were just presented, policy ideas, are going to be further elaborated on until the refreshments break. But prior to continuing in the policy direction, we have one more keynote from a company that holds a superstar status in the local automotive ecosystem and the international one. Please welcome on stage for the final keynote of the opening part of our conference, Mr. Ver Elst, General Manager of Sensata Technology, Bulgaria.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ver Elst, Managing Director Sensata Technologies, as well as the Chairman of the Board of Directors within the Automotive Cluster in Bulgaria. First of all, thank you. Thank you for spending time with us today here at the Automotive Forum 2026 in general. And I think it's more than ever important, let's say, that we are connected. Well, Lubomir called me last week and said, look, do you want to give a short speech? Because it's not really a keynote, a short speech, let's say, about what is the role of the cluster, let's say, within the industry at the moment. To be honest, over the weekend, I got inspired by, I think you all know what I'm going to say, united around music in general. I think today, more than ever, let's say, we as an industry need to be united with the challenges and the opportunities we have ahead of us in general. And it has been mentioned already a few times. I don't think I will say anything different than the previous keynote speakers. We are operating today in a pretty dynamic global world, let's say, that is really, impacted by geopolitical tension in general, conflicts overall, and not to forget from that perspective, mentioned a few times already, the severe competition we're facing with China currently. In the past, let's say, when we were looking to China, let's say, as the manufacturing hub of the world, let's say, in general. Today, we need to be realistic, and we see that the pendulum is swinging into a powerhouse of innovation. At the same time, looking to China, they have easy access, let's say, to the vast majority of the critical minerals available in the world. This is giving China a very severe competitive advantage in terms of cost, the fully integrated supply chain connected to that, and connected to that their scalability overall based on innovation, not based on purely cost in general. At the same time in Europe, we are dealing with a situation, let's say, the cost of doing business keeps on increasing. We talked about wages already, we talked about inflation. You heard Mr. Krieger also talking about the cost of energy in general within the European Union. And then on top of that, we also face over-regulation, to be very honest, hindering our speed of doing business, our flexibility in general, and creating on top of that an additional burden, let's say, for us to be successful and competitive at the same time, operating from Europe to the rest of the world in general. And it's visible in the numbers. If you purely take a look to how the overall manufacturing industry, let's say, is represented within the European GDP, today we're talking about 14%. We can say, yeah, that's still great. To be very honest, you should see the development over time, let's say, and we know that already for decades, let's say, this is decreasing, and especially in the last years, let's say, we see a further decline, let's say, and overall we're losing our momentum, let's say, as industry in Europe. Is automotive immune for that? Unfortunately not, already clearly highlighted in the previous presentation in general. Still today, automotive is the single biggest sector in the economy in Europe, let's say. Based on a study of McKinsey, if you take the full added value supply chain, the direct and indirect jobs connected to the automotive industry in Europe, we're still talking today about 7% of the GDP in Europe is coming out of this sector. It is employing directly and indirectly around 13 million citizens in the European Union in general. But the challenges are ahead of us. We see today that electrification is a major shift, but the issue is that talking about electrification, the momentum is in China. Innovation is driven out of China, it's not driven out of Europe in general. Majority of the batteries are produced in China, not in Europe today. 2025 was really a turning point, and I think it was similar to the graph that Mr. Krieger was showing. Actually, for the first time in 2025, there are more vehicles produced in China imported in Europe than vice versa in general. So our production volumes are declining, our market share globally is declining from European perspective. And at the same time, if you take a look to content, so what do we still produce in Europe? Today, an internal combustion engine setup, typically the stronghold of our European automotive industry, around 80% is still with European local content. Switching over to electrification, you already see that European content in cars produced here is dropping below 50%. Lately we saw studies around 45% is only being produced within the European Union in general. And then not to forget, the challenge itself is the vast majority of sales we generate in Europe. Europe is actually still the continent, let's say, that hasn't recovered their sales volumes compared to pre-COVID in general. So that puts another burden in place. Now you'll say, Tommy, very pessimistic. No. To be very honest, I think as leaders, as people, we need to be pragmatic looking to things in general, not ignoring the truth ahead of us. Because otherwise there is no way, to be very honest, we turn the challenges into opportunities overall. And that's exactly also the mission of the automotive cluster, coming to that. If we take a look to the automotive cluster, besides our strive, let's say, to attract new investments, let's say, to support new investments in general, one of our key missions is support the ecosystem that we have in place within Bulgaria in general. Make sure that we listen to our members and use the volume as an organization that we have. It was mentioned by the Deputy Minister of Economy. Automotive cluster today represents around $10 billion in terms of revenue, more than 350 companies, more than 88,000 people working in the economy in Bulgaria, let's say. Our first priority needs to be listen to the members. That's why within the board, let's say, we had really already a critical look into what should be our focus area in general. How can we weigh on government policies? It's like Mr. Krieger said, every momentum we need to utilize to speak up and to push so that things will gradually move in the right direction based on the feedback, let's say, of the industry itself. We can't change Europe or influence Europe too much out of Bulgaria. But what we can do for sure is influence local policies in general. And there are 5 or 6 local, how to say it, focus areas that we have defined within the cluster in general. The first one is really talking about the stability and the predictability of our taxation system. It is absolutely a must-have for us as an industry, let's say, to keep the stability of our current taxation system. And in order to fix the government budget, purely to focus on the cash collection, push down the grey economy, but don't solve it to increasing taxation in general. Connected to that, the latest R&D incentive proposal is a step in the right direction. But to be honest, it's not enough. If we compare what's currently on the table, let's say for 2027, it's below average compared to the rest of the European countries. It will not really support, let's say, the needed amount of innovation in general. Talking about predictability, wage inflation. Honestly, the last more than 4 years, if I remember it well, we're talking in this country about double-digit wage inflation, talking about the minimum wage. And now we will all say, yeah, but we're not operating on minimum wage, no issue. I agree. But at the same time, we need to be realistic, let's say. When we push up the bottom part, the mid part will go up, the top part will go up. So to be very honest, we're turning at the moment into a vicious circle. A vicious circle that doesn't allow the industry to give enough breathing room, let's say, to find the needed productivity and to offset that inflation with productivity in general. So there needs to be really a discussion about the mechanism, how the wage inflation is identified within the country in general. Second part is, what we really want to push also in is a better utilization of state aid support in general. If we take a look to Bulgaria today, we are still in the lowest compared to any other country within the European Union when we talk about state aid provided as a percent of the GDP overall. Now, that's one, but secondly also is things are not reforming or adjusting fast enough to support the need of the industry that needs to transform very, very fast at the moment. Administration has been highlighted already. We need significant administration reform, digitalization in general. In the past, Bulgaria had a significant advantage attracting investors. Flat taxation system, cheap cost of labor. And to be very honest, I'm happy we're not that country anymore. I'm happy that we're not seen as a low-cost labor destination. But in order to attract investments, we need to understand that then, in order the speed, let's say, to bring your investments up and running is absolutely critical. Today, we miss a fully centralized approach, let's say, in between the different government departments to support new investments, to support new businesses in general. As a cluster, we will continue our focus also on supporting the ecosystem within our members, let's say. What we mean with that is we will keep supporting initiatives in terms of, best practice exchange, helping out each other in general, but also ensuring, let's say, that we further improve, let's say, the partnership or trades in between the different members within the cluster that we have available. And last but not least, and that comes to what Mr. Krieger also said, if we take a look to the Industrial Acceleration Act within Europe, the cluster is indeed in a big support there. It has good pockets of excellence where we see a potential positive shift or impact on the automotive industry in general. That's why I said being connected, I think in times like today, is more important than ever. That's why I'm convinced, let's say, that when we are united, we stay stronger in general. And let me end up with a positive note. It was highlighted already. Sensata is existing today for 25 years in the country. We are operating with a team of more than 3,500 people. We generate around 350 million euro out of this country. I think this shows our commitment to the country. I think this shows that we truly believe in the talent, the capabilities that we have in place. And we are here committed for the future. The only message that out of my name in relation to the cluster and my name in relation to Sensata we want to bring, we need to find a way to challenge ourselves. Yes, I really liked what Mark said. China is making us work harder in the fitness, push our boundaries in general, but it needs to go hand in hand with policy reforms, let's say, that support a sustainable business climate ahead of us. Thank you very much. I wish you a great rest of the day. Thank you.